trapped underwater is already terrifying. Being swallowed alive by a whale with only about an hour of oxygen left is something else entirely. That is the nightmare at the center of Whalefall, the new survival thriller starring Austin Abrams. And the latest trailer makes it look like one of the strangest, most claustrophobic movies of 2026. Abrams plays Jay Gardiner, a young diver who heads into the ocean off the California coast searching for the remains of his father. That mission is emotional before it is dangerous. Jay is still carrying the weight of a complicated relationship with his father, Mitt Gardiner, played by Josh Brolin. Their history is clearly unresolved, and Jay's decision to dive is not simply about recovery, it is about closure. Then the ocean turns the entire mission into a survival nightmare. Jay is swallowed alive by a whale, and suddenly everything becomes brutally simple. He has limited oxygen, almost no room to move, no obvious escape, and roughly 1 hour before his chances of survival disappear. Every second becomes a calculation. How much air is left? How much energy can he afford to waste? How much damage can he survive? And what can he possibly use inside a whale to create an escape route? The trailer focuses heavily on that claustrophobia. Darkness closes around Jay. The space is wet, unstable, and constantly moving. He cannot tell where the safest place is because there is no safe place. The movie also gives him one strange additional problem. A squid has been swallowed with him. The trailer makes the situation feel less like a straightforward escape puzzle and more like a chain of escalating problems. Solve one thing, another problem appears. Move forward. Lose more oxygen, use energy, reduce the time you have left. That is exactly how a good survival thriller should work. The interesting part is that Whalefall does not seem satisfied with being only a high-concept survival movie. The story keeps returning to Jay's father. Mitt may be dead, but his presence is everywhere. Jay remembers the lessons his father taught him. He hears his voice. He replays moments from their past. And every survival decision becomes connected to the same relationship Jay came into the ocean trying to process. That gives the movie an emotional structure beneath the physical danger. Jay has spent years carrying anger, guilt, and unresolved feelings toward his father. Now the only reason he may survive is because of the knowledge that father gave him. That contradiction is where the movie could become much more than the guy inside the whale. Duffield directs the film, and that is another reason Whalefall has my attention. Duffield previously directed No One Will Save You, a movie that used a simple premise, very little dialogue, and strong visual storytelling to create tension. Whalefall looks like another film built around physical performance and environment. Austin Abrams has to carry huge sections of the movie almost alone. There may be flashbacks, memories, and other characters around him, but once Jay is inside the whale, everything depends on his ability to make panic, exhaustion, problem-solving, and fear feel real. That is a difficult performance. The production itself sounds unusual. Duffield has said the cast and crew spent a summer inside a recreated whale environment on a soundstage in Studio City. That detail matters because the movie needs the space to feel physical. If Jay is constantly surrounded by obvious digital effects, the tension will disappear. But if Abrams is actually moving through tight practical sets, water, rubber, mechanical structures, and limited light, the audience may feel the confinement much more strongly. The trailer certainly looks committed to that. The whale interior feels less like a giant fantasy cavern and more like a biological prison. Wet surfaces, narrow opening, organic movement, almost no sense of orientation. That visual approach is exactly what the premise needs. Whalefall is based on Daniel Krause's 2023 novel, and Krause co-wrote the screenplay with Duffield. That is encouraging because the adaptation appears to understand that the book's emotional core matters as much as the survival concept. The idea of being swallowed by a whale is the hook. The father-son story is what gives the hook meaning. The film also reunites Abrams and Brolin after Weapons. That is funny in a dark way, because once again their characters do not exactly appear to be having a peaceful relationship. Abrams also has a very busy 2026. He is set to appear in the upcoming Resident Evil film, which means he is apparently spending the year moving from one nightmare scenario to another. First monsters and Umbrella, then a whale. Some actors really do need better vacations. The supporting cast includes Elizabeth Shue as Jay Gardiner, Jane Levy as Eva Gardner, Emily Rudd as Nan Gardner, and John Ortiz as Huey. Their roles may become especially important through flashbacks and the emotional history surrounding Jay and Mitt. Because the physical story is so contained, those memories will probably carry much of the world outside the whale. That is another smart contrast. Inside the whale, everything is about survival. Outside it, everything is about family. The movie can move between those two pressures without losing focus. The biggest challenge will be maintaining tension for an entire feature around such a confined setup. Once the audience understands that Jay has limited oxygen, the movie has to keep changing the problem. The whale moves, the environment changes. The squid becomes dangerous, Jay gets injured, the equipment fails, and his emotional state begins affecting his decisions. If the film keeps escalating like that, the 1-hour oxygen limit becomes more than a countdown. It becomes the structure of the entire movie. And countdowns work. They make every pause expensive. Every mistake costs time. Every emotional breakdown becomes dangerous. That is exactly the kind of pressure this story needs. What also makes Whalefall stand out is how absurd the premise sounds until you see it. A man trapped inside a whale should be impossible to take seriously, but the trailer plays everything straight. No winking, no jokes about Jonah, no attempt to make the situation look fun. It treats the premise as a brutal survival problem, and that confidence may be the reason it works. The movie arrives in theaters on October 16th, and based on this trailer, I think the selling point is not simply the whale. It is the combination of claustrophobia, grief, oxygen pressure, and one son trying to survive by using the lessons of the father he never fully understood. I want to know what you think. Does Whalefall look like one of the most original survival thrillers in yours? Or is being trapped inside a whale simply too strange a premise to take seriously? Because Jay has 1 hour of air, nowhere to run, and a lifetime of unresolved memories coming back at the worst possible moment, and somehow, getting swallowed may only be the beginning.